If you're interested in accountancy, you'll have probably heard of CIMA and ACCA, but what do these accounting bodies actually do? Well, they exist to let employers know that when they hire an accredited accountant, their finances are in safe hands. These institutions have sometimes centuries of experience in training and qualifying accountants, so employers feel safe knowing that someone has these letters next to their name. However, even though these bodies are all respected, they're not interchangeable. Different bodies will suit you depending on what you want to do with your career. Researching is key as you'll have to choose an accounting body to have on your CV and potentially be a member of for the rest of your life. Now, accountancy is a broad term for a wide range of work in finance. There's no real difference in terms of quality between these different bodies, and you should choose one depending on what you want to do day in, day out in your career. In this video, we'll go specifically through CIMA and ACCA and help you work out which one is right for you. So I've talked a bit about there being a difference in what you would do day in, day out as an accountant with either qualification. So let's look at what those differences actually are. If you had an ACCA qualification, you'd be more likely to focus on more technical accounting. This lends itself more to careers in tax, audit, or consulting. As you would expect, modules you'll study will focus more on this side of accounting, and companies like PwC and other Big Four accounting firms prefer to hire accountants from ACCA as it indicates a greater degree of technical knowledge. Members of CIMA, on the other hand, tend to focus more on business strategy. This means you'll do modules more focused on business and the environment they operate within, and it trains you really well to offer advice and recommend decisions for companies of all sizes. This isn't limiting though, but you will tend to find that you are a great candidate for roles in the finance function of a company rather than working for a specific accounting firm. However, it would be a mistake to think that either qualification is limiting. For example, in ACCA, you would have to study different modules focusing on business, for example, the SBL, Strategic Business Leader, and in CIMA, you have to study financial accounting throughout your qualification, so both qualifications prepare you really well to be a chartered accountant. Whether it's for ACCA or CIMA, both governing bodies have a really strict process on who gets the qualification. Both bodies allow students to skip exams if you have a qualification in a relevant field, for example in accountancy or business. So if you had an MBA, for example, you might be able to skip some modules related to business. Let's look at some of the different modules you'd sit for both. At entry level, you do quite similar ones for either ACCA or CIMA. For example, ACCA has its 3 modules in the Applied Knowledge section on business and technology, management accountancy, and financial accountancy. These correspond very closely to CIMA's modules, which are on business and finance, financial accounting, and management accounting. So as you can see, these are quite similar at this stage. However, the main difference is that as you go along, ACCA becomes much more specialised. This means that at later stages, you'll get to study things like audit and assurance, taxation, or corporate law, which will help you more in gaining technical skills. CIMA tends to stick towards broader topics. For example, its business and finance section is called E1 in its first stage, and then becomes E3, which is essentially an expansion. So while at E1 you might be studying things like how automation might affect a business, in E3 you study that in more detail and look at business models that will relate to those topics. As CIMA is focused on generating management accountants, it tends to be more that as you go through the qualification, you'll look at how you would work in different areas of a business. For example, at operational level, you'll look at more tactical things on the ground level, for example, how to improve production processes in a part of a factory, for example, or how to measure those things. Whereas at E3, you would look more at strategy and how you look at things from a big picture viewpoint. Now what you're all thinking about, which is how difficult are the exams for both? Well, as you might expect with ACCA, as things get more technical, they get more difficult. While both have a similar pass rate at the start, ACCA's drops to around 45%, whereas CIMA's remains at around 61%, and so you might want to take this into account if you're looking to get qualified quickly. However, the figures you see here aren't a strict comparison, as these modules are different, and it can depend on which modules you choose. As for ACCA, some may be more difficult, and for CIMA it may depend on which pathway you choose between FLP and PQ, which we'll get to in a bit. Speaking of exams, which exams do you need to actually start the qualification? Well, for ACCA, you will need GCSEs and A-levels. You'll specifically need GCSEs across 3 subjects and 2 A-levels to get started with your ACCA qualification. However, for CIMA you don't need any qualifications at all, and a school leaver could start their CIMA qualification without any trouble. However, both do offer exemptions if you have degrees, as mentioned earlier, so this may help get through your qualification a bit faster and make it less frustrating. However, don't feel put off if you don't have qualifications. Even for ACCA with their requirements, they do have a foundations in accountancy to help anyone who doesn't have any school qualifications get started with ACCA. So don't feel put off if this applies to you. Let's look at costs for both. This shouldn't be a factor determining your decision, as they're roughly equivalent for both. However, the thing that should make a difference for you if you want to save a bit of money is that CIMA does not charge exemption fees if you have prior qualifications, whereas ACCA does. This means that if you have an MBA or an accounting degree and you want to save a bit of money, it might be worth going with CIMA because you will be able to skip these without paying a fee. However, it is worth noting that with the FLP coming in, there is a new option for paying for CIMA, which would be with an annual subscription rather than paying per exam. And this could save you money in the long run if you intend on going all the way with it for 3 years, in which case you could pay for it in bulk and therefore save money. Now, the question no one really wants to openly talk about, but you do definitely care about, is how much money you will make after each qualification. For ACCA, the average salary for a recent graduate is around $48,000 a year. And for CIMA, it's between $41,000 and $54,000. So again, this shouldn't make a big decision in which qualification you go for, as the salaries are roughly around the same level for both. So what have we learnt in this video? Essentially, both qualifications set you up for a great career in accounting. The main factor to consider is what kind of work you would want to do on a day-to-day basis. Do you want to be working in the finance function of a business, helping make strategy, or do you want to be working in an accounting firm, working in audit, tax, or more technical accounting matters? This makes a difference in what career you'll get, as an employer who wants someone more technically qualified in accounting will tend to go for someone with an ACCA qualification over a CIMA one, and someone working for a business would want someone who studied process and management accounting from start to finish and has expertise in that. CIMA versus ACCA ultimately then isn't a choice between which is the better accounting body. It's about what you want to do in your career and how these qualifications will help you achieve that. So hopefully you found that video useful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and one of our team will get back to you as soon as possible. And please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more information about accountancy. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video.